Good evening, everybody. On Nighthawk High Strangers podcast channel, and this is basically mysteries of Bigfoot. Okay, I'm going to go through the disclaimer and all that fun stuff, and then we'll get right into the meat of it. This channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contents that it falls under the Fair Use Act, Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strangers podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel declare fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for educational purposes, criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and general knowledge only, and entertainment value per Title 17, subsection 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known as the Fair Use Act. Okay, let me go ahead and get that off of there. Put something that we all really we actually know, and some of us are experiencers, but I'm going to go through and we're going to talk about Bigfoot. Okay, mysteries of Bigfoot. There seems to be a separation from Bigfoot investigators and researchers that are in the field. You have the ones that believe that Bigfoot can mentally put images in your thought and your brain, so you think he's something else other than a Bigfoot standing in front of you. And we'll get into that aspect of it. But currently, we have the woo group, okay, and we have the naturalist type of a group where they think that the Bigfoot is just a missing link, basically, or another great ape that is undiscovered, or it could be the Denisonova man. I mean, there's so many different things that it could be. Okay, I can tell you from my personal experiences and for being Native American, that when you're dealing with Bigfoot, especially when you're Native American, you're not only dealing with Bigfoot as per se as an individual or in a group, but you are dealing with the environment also connected to it. Okay, there is a thing about Bigfoot and infrasound and all that, where basically people out in the field get nauseated and sick to their stomach and dizzy and just have to get out of there. Um, I can tell you I've never really experienced the nausea part of it, or even been threatened by them, and I have dealt with two distinctive uh, breeds, I should say. Okay, Um, I was always taught growing up that Bigfoot was, called our big brother. Okay, he watched out for the environment. He watched out for anyone that is connected to the environment to protect them and to, not have the environment or the animals or even the native people to do wrong. Now, that's not to say that some Bigfoot aren't very, very territorial and very, very mean towards humans. Um, but the ones that I've dealt with are really, really not that way. They're more family oriented, okay, and they keep their distance, when they're around. I mean, you're talking to somebody right now that used to pick wild grapes right next to groups of them, okay, and no harm ever came to me, okay. And this happened not too far from where I currently live, as a matter of fact, when I was growing up. Um, there's just so many different things that people talk about when it comes to Bigfoot. Okay, and we need to really stick together on this research. It doesn't do anybody any good when certain groups go off and say other groups are out of their mind and all that. It's very, very unprofessional, in my opinion. I'm coming from a Native American point of view. Okay, a military veteran who's spent plenty of time out in the woods, um, who has survived out in the woods hunting and stuff and bushcrafting. Okay, so you know take the information I give to you in this short podcast recording, and use some part of it, please. Okay. Um, my first Bigfoot sighting was when I was like, I think I was like, man, when was I? I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. Okay. And we were playing flashlight tag. And those of you that are from my generation know what flashlight tag is. And you get out there after it gets dark, and you just have a flashlight and you hide from your friends. And if your friends spot you and tag you with the flashlight, then you're it. Well, I was hiding pretty good next to a tree, and I ran out and shined the flashlight on one of my friends, my buddy, and he became it. And next thing I know, I got plowed over, and I'm laying on the ground looking up at this thing about as big as I was then. I mean, not very big at all. Not very intimidating, but you could tell it was husky. It had a build on it. But you could tell he was a juvenile in his face. Okay, flat nose, big, big blue eyes. I mean, we're talking blue eyes, like the kind that is almost hypnotic. Um, anyways, it kind of smirked at me and ran off into the woods by the swampy area by our property. And that was it. That was my first encounter with one. And I asked my dad that night, I said, because he came out of the house when he heard me yell. And I was still laying on the ground. And my buddy was coming over to me too. And anyways, he asked me what happened. And I told him, I said, a hairy being just knocked me down. It looked like I thought I was a person at first. Honestly, I thought it was my buddy's older brother who was the neighborhood bully. Let's put it that way. So that's kind of where that came in. I thought that was, the case. But when I looked up and saw it, and it's smirking at me like, "Ha, I got you. You're it." It was kind of funny after you think about it for a while. And the second time I saw it, was a very much a bigger one, but it was with a small one, and the small one was up in this oak tree that lined the field, and we were riding motorcycle dirt bikes and stuff. And I had a Kawasaki KZ, and my buddy had a Yamaha, and the other buddy had an old Indian 100cc bike. We loved the motorcycles back then, the dirt bikes. So we had all kinds of fun. I mean, it is what it is. Cops used to chase us and stuff all the time. There wasn't a day that we went out on our dirt bikes we weren't chased. But one day, we were all going around this field, and this field was probably, I'd say, about a 30-acre field, and just completely, flat, high grass in the center, and there was trail riding around the outer edge of the whole field. Okay, so technically, I'm not sure how many hundreds of yards, if not thousands of yards, that would be on each side of the square of the field. But where we came in at is where we saw this Bigfoot. Okay, and where we came in at on the field was a looked like an old logging road coming between the woods, and it separated like 10 feet of the woods on one side where it faced the field, and the rest of the woods on the other side. There was like an 8 foot wide vehicle path that was driven through there, and I'm guessing it was probably from loggers or something. And anyways, to make a long story short, after my turn on running around the field, something told me to look down where we came in at. And I looked down where we came in at, and there was this big, hairy, not overly muscular, but you could tell it was muscle. But it wasn't like crazy Hulk muscle, Hulk smash, not that kind of a thing. Okay. But, my father always told me, when you're confronted with these beings, don't look them in the eye, give them the respect, tell them you mean them no ill will or any harm, and that you're glad that they made their presence known to you and they'll leave you alone. Well, I did that. Okay, I looked down at the ground after I snuck another peek at him, and I'm guessing it was a him. It could have been a her actually too, because of the little one in the tree. Um, anyways, I looked down and I saw this perfect silhouette of what I saw. And I'm going to show you. A buddy of mine, David, a very dear friend of mine, made a 3D cast. This is what was standing in the field. Okay. It was standing, so it was like this when I saw it, and its arms were up in the air, up in the tree, trying to grab the little one down. Okay. When I went down to my knees and looked down at the ground, knowing that it was after I was shutting the fuel tank off, it turned. I noticed me first because I was at the first in the row of the motorcycles, and it basically walked away off into the woods with a little one. Okay. Now there's more to that encounter that I really don't disclose very much because I don't want people to misconstrue what I saw. Okay. Because you see, there is a difference. Okay. There's a difference between the natural Bigfoot, okay, the big brother. There's 4 different types of them to begin with. So maybe I'll start there. You got the really mean, nasty ones that are up in the Yukon Territory and Alaska, okay, all the way down to the state of Washington, okay. They're even known to come over into AB Canada, and all that. So yeah, that's and BC, British Columbia, Alberta, that area too. They've been known to be down in all the way down into Montana and the Rocky Mountains. Okay. They can be really mean. Then you got what everybody calls the Gugway. Okay. Now the Gugway has the snout. Okay. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of that. Okay. Let me see. Snout, a schnauzer. Okay. Now that doesn't really be depicted, but imagine that coming out about 3 or 4 more inches. Okay. Kind of like along the size of a bear's muzzle. Okay. Like a grizzly bear's muzzle. Okay. Just picture that coming off of the face. Okay. That's what the Gugway looks like. And it is a very, very ferocious thing to confront. Okay. They are very territorial and very mean, very nasty. Okay. Kind of like the Bigfoot out of Alaska and British Columbia and Yukon Territory. Big and nasty. I mean, up there they can get up to 20 feet tall. That's nothing. That is nothing. Down here in the lower 48, you could probably get about 10 feet tall, maybe 12 maximum that I have seen. And that's just a guess by judging the height, the branches in the tree and all that, and measuring it, and doing the investigation part of it. But anyways, you got the Alaskan Bigfoot, which is the big mean one. Then you got the Gugway. Okay. Then you got the little ones that come up from the South American track. Okay. From the rainforest and all that. In Argentina, Brazil, Chile, all that area, Bolivia, all that area, Honduras, they're all over the place down there. And they're smaller. Okay, they are like a well, and I say small, but they're not small to us. Okay, I mean these things are like 7 foot, 8 foot tall, but they live in the swamps. They came up from the South American continent. Okay, crossed our border. Okay, boy, oh boy, lucky us. Anyways, and basically came to be comfortably living in the swamp area of the South. Okay, they are typically they have a like a chimpanzee face, flat nose, kind of a grayish skin color, or black, depending on how much sunlight they get. Their skin does tan and does get dirty like ours. So if they don't take care of themselves, like walking in streams and stuff and washing off and all that, their skin will definitely change because of all the buildup. Okay. Now they're mean. They're 7 foot tall and mean, 7 to 8 foot tall, mean. And who wouldn't be living in a swamp? Okay. You're fighting snakes, you're fighting boar, you're fighting cougars, mountain lion, all kinds of different things, bears, for what little scraps of food you can get, and gators. Let's not forget the gators and the big snakes. Okay. The big snakes, especially in Florida, um, you know, along that Gulf Coast area, the Everglades, you know, they're reclusive. They don't like humans being near them. So they will chase you off quicker than anything. And they can be just as mean as their big cousins up in the Yukon and Alaska territory. Okay. They can be just as mean and nasty. Okay. And to me, 7 foot, 8 foot tall is so. But, anyways, I had a run in with one of them years ago when I was in high school. And we were in Arkansas at the time. And we're not very far from Falk, Arkansas, the whole, swamp ape type of a thing, And I just saw it in a fleeting moment where it was coming through the swamps that we were hunting in and trapping in. And, with a buddy of mine. And we just both looked at each other and go, is that really what we think we saw? And we saw it. Yeah. We kept it to ourselves, but we saw it. So, Kenny, if you're out there, to you, brother. Okay. My sighting before, my second sighting, when I saw the thing change, okay, because I have this theory, and it's a wild theory, okay, but you know what? This whole area of field research is strictly guessing, anyways, okay, unless you have a scientific journal with daily entries to what they're doing, every aspect of their life, and they're not going to let you know that, okay? They are the keepers of the forest. They are the keepers of the animals, okay? So they do deserve our due respect when we go into their house, when we're tramping around knocking on their trees. It's like ringing the doorbell and ditching and running, okay? We shouldn't do that. That makes them mad, okay? It makes them very angry because they think that you're just doing it to try to entice them into coming in and do something. So, it would pay to not really do the tree knocking. Whistling is a good way of doing it. I used to take the Native American flute out and play that. There's all kinds of different things. You can gift them. I mean, there's different things. If you're going to gift them anything, gift them either fruit or feathers, because they love feathers. They make things out of grapevine and all that too. So, because I've seen it, they've gifted them to me. Okay. And they're also very good rock stackers, by the way. We're going to get through all that too at a later date. I'll do another part 2 to this. But one of the mysteries of Bigfoot is the fact that he can mind speak. Okay, now what we mean by mind speak. Okay, mind speak to me is what we were taught when we were little on how to do it to humans. Okay, yes. Those of you that know me know that I can mind speak, or at least I used to in my younger days. I could put thoughts in somebody's head and make them do something. Okay. I was never making them do anything that they would hurt themselves at. You know what I mean? So I was at least respectful to that point. But yes, I could put thoughts in people's heads when I was in 7th and 8th grade. That's just the way it was. Back then. And my second meeting with Bigfoot really set the focus, of seeing them. Okay. Seeing them change makes me wonder if there isn't like an offshoot of some type of alien shapeshifter that's involved in being in our planet, and sometimes will shapeshift into a Bigfoot to kind of intimidate people. I think those usually the eyes that I see are greenish yellow, and I've seen red, but the red just basically would chase us out of basically a hunting area that they claimed. Okay, so that's why. But I think more along the lines of if they have red eyes, avoid them. Okay, give them reduced space and just avoid them. Okay, because they're going to be mean and nasty if they have red eyes. Um, and then you got your human-looking ones. Okay, that have the human features. Okay, they look like Neanderthals. Okay, Denisonova is a good one. What they look like. They're like 9 to 10 feet tall, broad shoulders. I mean, you're talking twice the width of my shoulders. I mean, I can't even get my hands in the picture here to show you how wide they are, but they are wide shouldered. Okay, 48 inches would not be an underestimation for the shoulder width. Okay, and they are built like tanks. They really are. I mean, I always tell everybody picture a Hulk action figure with fur all over it for hair, and still seeing that muscle underneath. That's what they look like. And I'm going to show you what I mean. This was the third time I saw when I was riding my motorcycle. It threw a branch off of a tree in front of the spokes in my front tire, and it made me do a rollover basically at like 20 miles an hour. It wasn't very fast. I didn't get hurt. Brake pedal got bent up a little bit, but other than that, the bike was fine too. And as I got up to pick the bike up, I looked up, and sure enough, 15 feet away from me, I didn't even see it when I was on the motorcycle, was standing this 9 foot, maybe 10 foot tall adult Bigfoot that was pure, solid muscle. And I mean muscle. I mean, we're talking like Schwarzenegger had nothing on this guy. Neither did Lou Ferrigno that played the Hulk. This thing was so massive. But then I looked off to the right of it and I saw where a littler one actually was getting close enough to a deer. Now, the deer was standing completely still. That's what they do. They stand completely still and hope that you don't see them. Okay. Or they'll lay down and hope you don't see them, like the fawns do when they're born. But obviously, I interrupted their hunting, and that's why they got aggressive and threw the branch. That is the only time that they've ever really been mean to me. Okay. And that was because I interrupted their hunt. But anyways, that's just a couple of the times. Okay. There's other times too. I'm not going to get into all that. But you have the four distinct ones. Okay. You got the big mean ones from Alaska down to the Yukon and British Columbia down into Washington that can be anywhere from 9 feet to 20 feet tall. And they are really mean. Okay. Then you got the little ones coming up from South America. Okay. That inhabited all the swamp areas, and they're nasty and mean, 7 to 8 feet tall, look like chimpanzees in the face. They are pretty much rulers of the swamps. Okay. And they're nasty because they have to fight every day for their food against snakes, gators, bears, pumas, you name it. Okay. Anything. They have to literally be nasty in order to survive in that. So, all right. Then you got, like I said, you got the Gugway, okay, which comes down from Canada also. Their snout is kind of almost like a baboon snout, okay, if you can picture that. I know I said bear earlier, but yeah, you could picture a bear snout too. I mean, it would be about the same thing as far as a baboon and a bear, at least in my opinion. So And then you've got the human looking ones, okay, which can be anywhere from 8 to 10 feet tall. And they look like just, they look like, here, let me pull it up here. I'll pull up some pictures that you guys can see. Okay, we have, there's that one. Okay, peeping through a tree. Okay. And that's an actual photograph too, folks, just so you know. Um, Here's another example. This is an example of the ones like from the swamp areas of the South, whether it's the Everglades, the bayous, anywhere along the South, even Mississippi, anywhere there's swamp lands, you're going to find these things. Okay, 7 to 8 feet tall, and they're not. They don't like humans. Okay, they want you to just leave them alone. So I wouldn't go looking for them. And then you have the human looking ones that, I don't believe. Here's one from the Northwest. This is one that would be considered to be, like 12 to 15 feet tall. It comes down from Alaska into the Yukon and all that. The Nahanni Valley, if anybody ever knows anything about the Nahanni Valley, they're very versatile in that valley too. So that's pretty much it. We got the 4 distinct types. Okay. Now, tree knocking. I kind of tell people not to bother tree knocking. Okay. Because they're not tree knocking, they're using their vocal cord out of their mouth. Okay. And that click sound. Okay. And they can make it really, really loud. Okay. Plus, they do rock clacks. Okay. I have seen them actually take big clamshells and crack them together, and that's what you hear. Um, yes, they break branches and stuff like that as a sign to show you that they're aggressive and want you to leave the area. They push trees over, um, but mostly the fact of when you are getting them to react to you harshly, you're either a hunter, a trapper, or some way that didn't show them respect enough before you went out to do your hunt or your trapping. Okay. I've talked to people till I'm blue in the face about this. You need to make that connection first before with the environment before you go hunting. Okay. Even if it's the middle of winter, you need to say thank you to the environment for the hunt. Okay. And for any game that you get, and you don't mean anybody any harm. Okay. And you do it very, very honorably if you're hunting the deer or the buck or the elk or the bear. Take some tobacco with you when you do kill an animal. Say thank you to the creator for providing that pelt for your clothing, the food on your on your in your freezer. Thank that animal for giving its life. To provide for you and your family. That's what I call the respect factor. Okay, now I tell people all the time, take your shoes and socks off and curl your toes up into the ground, make that connection and think good thoughts to the environment. Okay. And uncurl your toes. You can put your shoes and socks back on, but when you make that connection, you will know. Okay. And you'll have a good hunt. I guarantee it. You won't get hassled either. You might see them, but they're not going to chase you out because they know why you're there and you went in good intentions. Okay. So, but that's just an old Native American trick. Okay. Just so you know. All right. Some of the other things, let's see, the rock stacking. They stack rocks, and you'll always notice that they do these things because they learned from us, the native people. Okay, rock stacking. they take the rocks, and there'll be a rock, whether it's in the middle or on the top, it'll be turned differently than all the others. Well, that's an old trail trick. Okay, we used to do that too. We also did that with branches. When we bent branches over, it would show a certain way that we went. Okay, same with the rocks. There'll be a rock, another rock, and then another rock, and then there'll be one on top or in the middle that's turned differently than the others. That's the way that they're telling you to go. Okay, or the way that they went. Okay. So, anyways, what do they eat? Well, I can guess right now that some of you are probably thinking, yeah, they'll probably eat humans. Well, they have a very, very um, big hunger for pork, whether it's wild boar or somebody that has pigs on their ranch. Um, I'm sorry, you're going to be missing pigs. They like pork. Okay. And it is said that we as humans, when we deal with the mean, aggressive ones, that they might be carnivores towards us. Okay. Um, so that being said, that's why I say avoid the aggressive ones, avoid the red-eyed ones, get out of the area. Okay. Say a prayer under your breath, and ask God for protection, and you will get out of that area. Okay. So it's going to be the part where I come on a second time, and I let you all know that there's a part two coming. Okay. So that being said, let's get this picture up here so I can show you. The human looking ones. Okay. The human looking ones. The big gorilla looking ones in Washington, Yukon, all the way up into Alaska are the big ones that are aggressive. Okay. This one wasn't too aggressive towards me, but some of them, they have a point to prove because they've been ousted out of their own family because they're another adult male, an alpha male in the family, and they can't be two. So you'll see a lot of them going out alone. Okay, which is what we're seeing here. But that is going to do it for this recording. I would really like to see everybody that has listened to this or at least watched this. Give me your thoughts. Okay. I can only tell you from my experience being Native American that I haven't had any, and I used to pick wild grapes next to them. They were on the other side of the wild grape bush, not even 4 feet away from me, you know? So, it is what it is, You can either deal with them respectfully or you can deal with them mischiefully, okay? And answer for what you do. Okay? I would give them the birth, give them the right of way, and just go about your business. Don't be afraid. They can sense fear, okay? So, until next time, I want everybody to like, heart, and share this out. Okay. If you can, maybe you can purchase a sticker or whatever, or make a donation. I'll put the banner up here with all the donation spots. Okay. We have our merchandise store, which is bonfire/store/into the red rabbit hole. Which is on here. We have a link tree with some merch on it. And if you can, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Um, stay saucy, stay loaded for bear, stay open-minded, stay connected, and you will have what you're looking for. Okay? Until next time, everybody, have a good one and question everything. Aho.